Hello, and welcome to AfriWorld Symposium on Alternative Reality Gardening. Thank you very much to AfriWorld and especially to Maggie Buxton for having me here to speak. My name is Mary Pedicini. I am an artist and art science practitioner. I'm also a coordinating member of the SEADS collective. SEADS stands for Space Ecologies, Art and Design, which is a transdisciplinary collective of artists, scientists, engineers, inventors, activists, and a whole lot more from across the globe. I first encountered AfriWorld through the SEADS and AfriWorld collaborative Biomod project, Biomod ABD14, which is a SEADS collective project that has existed for the last 10 years in different iterations. It involves imagining new relationships between humans, nature, and technology, and you can see more about it on either of our websites. In terms of myself and my work, I'm based in London and my work is grounded in sculpture and storytelling. My primary areas of interest are in comparative cognition and post-humanities, generally imagining non-human perspectives and ways of being, as well as in interspecies communication and the problematics of that, particularly in terms of the strange history of attempts to send messages into space on behalf of all humanity. Today, I will be weaving together a response to the idea of alternative reality gardens. It will be an exercise in thread following, a train of stories linked one to the next, tales of weird gardens, surveys of strange fruit. Thank you for joining me. Part 1. Alternative Reality Gardens. If you trace back far enough on the tree of life, you will encounter Luca, the last universal common ancestor. The Luca lived billions of years ago, a cell in the depths of our early oceans, and Luca's garden, its fertile ground, the place where it first bloomed, scaled the crusts of deep-sea hydrothermal vents. What if we could go back to that time and place and tend to that garden? What if we encouraged some lines of growth and pruned away others? The Luca was not alone in the time at which it lived. There were others, Luca's cousins, which the Luca and its offspring outcompeted. But what if we removed Luca from the equation and followed the chain of evolution through again from another point? What beings might emerge? How different would they be from life today? If we follow a new path, what other possibilities can grow? What other worlds can become imaginable? I often wonder how small a change can elicit how large an effect. Ray Bradbury's 1952 short story, The Sound of Thunder, features a man who, on a time travel safari to hunt the biggest of big game, Tyrannosaurus Rex, became spooked and while fleeing the beast, steps off the allocated path, trotting fatefully on a butterfly. When he returns to the future, he finds that written language, as well as the presidential results, have been altered, the resounding effects of a small change magnified over time. If I phrased a sentence differently in this talk, if I visited my sites of inquiry in a different order, would you think differently of me? How differently? Would one turn of phrase spark an idea that you could grow into something more, but in another telling mean nothing? Or would it all just wash away? You might keep a core idea or two translated into your own way of seeing the world, and let the rest be buried, however I say it. Sylvia Plath once wrote of sitting in front of a fig tree. I saw my life branching out before me, like the green fig in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor, and another fig was Europe and Africa and South America, and another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attila and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions, and another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion, and beyond and above all of these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest, and as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one, they plopped to the ground at my feet. This paralysis in the face of choice is a feeling that haunts modern life. Each person could be so many different versions of themselves, by their own choices or because of the largest or smallest brushes from outside influence. One choice annihilates another, but paralysis annihilates all, or at least all the magnificent ones we dream of. I dream of Luca with this impulse as both an imagined destructive act, wiping out all that is, all that has led to me, and therefore me and any choice I must make, but also as a creative one, planting a new garden, believing optimistically in a better, what does that mean, alternate universe. Like Dune's hero, Paul Atreides, I wish I could see every possible path, assess them all and follow the brightest, or even follow them all. I am a greedy imaginer. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, many worlds exist in parallel to our own, occupying the same space and time but in alternate dimensions. Every time a quantum experiment with different possible outcomes is performed, all outcomes are obtained, each in a different newly created world, even if we are only aware of the world with the outcome that we have seen. Tragically, with physics, we can't actually see these alternate worlds. Fiction, often science fiction, becomes our primary means of accessing these other possibilities. Part 2. Alternative Reality Gardens. I'd like to turn now to some gardens which invite alternate possibilities. Landing places for new ways of seeing and being. These gardens nourish strange beings, give birth to strange fruit. Wick's Pool. The weird fiction master Jeff Vandermeer published Born in 2017, a fantastic novel set in a post-apocalyptic city riddled with biotech. The narrator's lover, Wick, grows his own biotech creations and parts in an abandoned swimming pool in their warren of a home. Sometimes his experiments fail, sometimes they bear fruit, new living tissue. Like Luca's, this underwater garden brims with new forms of life that do not yet exist. In a toxic world, this pool is disgusting, fetid goop, and yet it nourishes the creatures who live in it. A garden from which alternate forms of life bloom, unnatural as they may be. Speaking of weird gardens birthing weird beings, I do have to touch briefly on the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls. This American doll franchise of not quite cute soft toys have a well-developed origin story involving strange creatures, mysterious waterfalls, but the gist of it is that the babies grow in cabbage patches. Doll owners can visit Babyland General Hospital in Cleveland, Georgia to view live births where nurses pluck the babies out of the ground. What a strange act of performance art, of communal pretending, of plant life transformed into human flesh, and simultaneously of popping a cloth doll out of a cloth cabbage. In the Garden of the Hesperides, we have the nymphs of the evening who guard the golden apples, although sometimes interpreted as oranges, which offer immortality to any who eat them. In Norse mythology, Idun, the goddess of youth, carries golden apples which grant temporary immortality to the gods, although when they are deprived of these apples, the gods themselves grow old and grey. In China, the Queen Mother of the West grows the peaches of immortality in her garden on the mythical Kunlun mountain, which also grants temporary immortality and must be eaten continuously every 2,000 years. In the Garden of Eden lies the apple of forbidden knowledge, already tasted, apparently ours. This magical fruit salad tempts us with the ability to explore more of these branching paths. With immortality, one has longer to explore and can therefore cover more ground. With omnipotence, one imagines one would have the knowledge of every possible path, even those not taken. The incredible designer Alexandra Daisy Ginsburg has created many gripping projects commenting on humans' relationship to both nature and technology. One of these is Pollinator Pathmaker, in which she creates a reality in which a non-human lens can shape human activities. Ginsburg asks, what would a garden look like if it were designed from a pollinator's perspective rather than ours? Noting how pollinators see colors differently from us, forage in different ways, and emerge in different seasons to each other, she speculates that a garden designed for them would look quite different from a garden designed for us. Working with horticulturists, pollinator experts, and an AI scientist, Ginsburg created a publicly accessible program incorporating human empathy by aiming, through its algorithms, to support as many different pollinator species as possible. I find this alternative garden, which centers non-human species needs and perceptions, hugely inspiring. Part 3. Grow your own. I'll end this talk with a playful exercise, building my own garden. In preparing for this talk, I learned of the Universe Splitter, created by Airfish LLC. It's an app that uses quantum photons to assign you to one universe or another. The app suggests that whenever you're faced with a choice, for example, whether to accept a job offer or turn it down, just type both of these actions into Universe Splitter and press the button. Within seconds, the Universe Splitter will receive the experiment's results and tell you which of the two universes you're in, and therefore which action to take. Think of it, two entire universes, complete with every last planet and galaxy, and in one, a version of you who took the new job, and in another, a version of you who did not. The algorithm connects to a machine which shoots photons at a semi-transparent mirror, making the photon go one way or another. According to the laws of quantum mechanics, the photon does go both ways, but the machine only records it going one way. One way to reconcile this is with the many worlds theory of quantum physics, which I mentioned previously, to say that if the machine records that the photon went one way, then we're in the universe where it did go that way. If it records it going the other way, then we are in the universe where it went the other way. To begin, you must put in two options. Say, things to live in my alternative reality garden. I went for a rosebud or Tamagotchi. And it seems we are now living in the world in which my garden contains a Tamagotchi. I'm off to go learn how to nourish a virtual creature in my virtual garden. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the symposium. Thank you.